So the Retron 5 is back, looking very dapper in its new look. A look that looks like the Miami Sound Machines designed it. It is a system that came out back in 2014 and was basically one of the first, if not the first, clone system that came with HDMI out. There was a lot of hype leading up to it, and afterwards, not everything that was said was good. But was it bad? I was in on day one, just about, and I have mixed feelings about it. A lot of it was good, though. So I figured with this being re-released, how do I feel about it now? Now, I'm not going to be honest with you. It's been collecting dust. I use it every now and again, but it has since been replaced by better hardware, at least in my eyes. So I want to take this thing and kind of go down memory lane with it and see how do I still feel about the Retron 5. So what is the Retron 5? Well, it's a clone system for physical media from consoles including the Famicom, the NES, Super Famicom, Super NES, the Mega Drive, the Sega Genesis, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy Color. There is an adapter that Hyperkin sells that allows you to play Sega Master System games and the Sega Game Gear, but in today's talk, we are just going to talk about what the system plays day one when you get it. And plus, I do not have that adapter, so yeah, I can't talk about it. So the Retron 5 comes with its own controller, and this controller, how do I say it? It sucks ass, big time. It's like Hyperkin sat down and said, I want you to design me a controller that sucks the hardest, because this thing is absolutely the most uncomfortable and awkward thing that I've ever held in my hands to play for a video game, and that includes the original Intellivision controller. But with that being said, thankfully there are ports on either side of the system that allows you to plug in a Nintendo controller, a Super Nintendo, or a Sega Genesis controller. Okay, so what the Retron 5 does is it takes the game off your actual physical cart and downloads it to the system itself, and then it runs the game via software emulation. The Retron 5 isn't known for great compatibility with a lot of games. Now, I have run into that in the past when I was using this a lot more, but it's kind of funny because everything that I threw at it today, including a reproduction, it ran fine. It loaded everything up and totally ran okay. So I don't know what to tell you. I was on a hitting streak today. Here are some of the games that we're going to try out today. I tried to pick games that people were more familiar with, so when they take a look at the graphics and they hear the sound, they have sort of an idea of what they should be getting. I also tried to vary it up by using some reproduction cards along with a video cart from the Game Boy Advance that is not known to be compatible with a lot of other peripherals that play Game Boy Advance games. I figured we'd just start off with NES because that's always a good way to start off. Everybody's super familiar with that system. And the first game we're going to throw in is one that everybody knows, and it's probably the best game on the NES, and that's Super Mario Bros. 3. So from what I can see, I've always thought that the Retron 5 had really good graphics. The graphics are always seemed very sharp. The sound was pretty much spot on. You know, there are some games that you will notice some stuff, namely a game that's coming up later on our list here. But as far as Super Mario Bros. 3, it looks legit. This thing plays really nice. We got another NES game here, and it is Castlevania 3. And the reason why I put this in here is because supposedly clone consoles have a problem playing this game. So it's like kind of like the benchmark where everybody throws this in to see if the clone console play it. And, you know, the Retron 5 plays it really well. The sound is good and the graphics are good. I will say, just so you guys know, as far as the graphics go, I haven't done anything to this. You can tweak them by putting different filters on, you know, the scan lines and all that. I never give a shit about any of that. It's just, it always makes it look worse, I think. So what you're seeing here is out of the box settings, how it comes. Next up, I put a couple Famicom games in there because they're actually the only two Famicom games that I have that I just started collecting for, but I figured it'd be fun to see them run on the Retron 5. I was almost 100% sure that they were going to, but yeah, here they are, and you know, the same as the last two NES games, they run pretty good, sound pretty good. Next, we're going to try a couple Sega Genesis games out, and unfortunately, the next one, which is my favorite game of all times, Sonic 2, it does have a little bit of issues here. The sound is a little bit off here and there. I don't know if you guys can tell, and then the graphics are, namely when you get the force shield that protects him, it just, you're supposed to see part of him in that, and instead it's just like a strobing ball of blue and you kind of see the top of Sonic's head. So yeah, there are a little bit of problems going on here, but other than that, the game plays fairly well. Well, who doesn't like a good hack and slash game? And the Golden Axe series is definitely one of them that hits the buttons for me. This is Golden Axe 2, probably one of the first couple games that I bought on the Sega Genesis, and yeah, it plays really well, no problems that I can see. Man, I love this game. So now we come to a couple of Super Nintendo games, and the first one you're going to see is Super Mario World. This game is fantastic. I love this game. It's the game that sold the Super Nintendo, basically. And everyone's played it. If you've had a Super Nintendo or have ever played one, chances are this game has been played. So here you go. It's playing good, sounds good, plays really well. Smash TV is such a great arcade game, and Super Nintendo definitely has a great port of it. This thing looks pretty good, sounds pretty good. I will say, to me, the graphics may look a little dark, but that just could be me. I think most people that have done any sort of gaming in their lives have heard of the Mega Man series of games. And the original Game Boy put out a fairly good one, and that's Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge. And this game plays really well, looks really crisp on the screen. I got no complaints here. While I did have an original Game Boy and later on a Game Boy Advance SP, I never did get a Game Boy Color. So when I got the Retron 5, I figured, well, now's as good a time as any to start collecting for the Game Boy Color. And one of the games that I got on there early on was Going Quackers with Donald Duck. And it's a beautiful game. It looks so good. I will say it looks a little pixelated on a blown-up screen, but, you know, what are you going to do? These games were made for smaller screens, so I still think it looks good, and it's beautiful. Sounds great as well. So who doesn't like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? And the Game Boy Advance has an awesome Turtles game. It's just like the other 16-bit games, you know, Hyperstone Heist and Turtles in Time, and the Retron 5 plays it really well. So the last handheld cartridge I want to talk about is actually not a video game, but it's a cartoon. Back in the day on the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo came out with a handful of cartridges that had cartoons on them. Now, the compression on this video doesn't make them look very well, especially since they were made for a smaller screen, but I figured I'd give it a shot on the Retron 5, not thinking that it was going to work. And surprise, surprise, this thing booted up. Hey. So last but not least, I figured, what the hell, let's try one of my reproduction carts. So I grabbed Metal Warriors for the Super Nintendo off the shelf and popped it on in. And voila, it works. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a representation of reproductions as a whole, because guys make them a number of different ways, so you may have varying results, compared to how one makes his or another makes his. One may work, one may not. All right, guys, so there was a handful of games on a handful of systems, and I think they all performed fairly well. Now, that being said, I will say what we experienced today was a little bit of fool's gold. You're not always going to get every game loading up and working like they did. In the past, when I used to use this quite a bit, not all the time you would get carts to work. And it happens more often than you would think. Sometimes it has this trouble reading it as far as downloading the ROM onto the system. Sometimes it just won't read them because of compatibility issues. So is this thing worth it? Is the Retron 5 in this day and age worth buying? Now, I want to say that this thing is going for $160 new. And I'm going to say yes. Because if you want something better than this, then obviously you're a more avid collector than just your average guy, or maybe someone just getting into collecting. But if you're just getting into collecting and you want to play physical carts, I think this thing's a really good deal. For the most part, it plays the games well. They always look pretty sharp. The sound's always pretty close. And the compatibility, while not 100%, is still pretty good. So I say for $160, why not? Because you know what? Even if you hold on to it for 2 or 3 years until you buy something new, I still think you're going to get your money out of it. Alright guys, that should just about do it for this time. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're not new to the channel and you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, stop being a biznatch and hit those damn buttons. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.